Good morning, students. Dear students, today we are going to start our next chapter of biology, that is tissues. In the last chapter, you have studied about fundamental unit of life, that is cell. You have studied the organizational structure of cell, different cell organelles. In this chapter, you will study about different types of tissues, plant tissues and animal tissues. So let us start our next chapter, tissues. From the last chapter, we recall that all living organisms are made of cells. In unicellular organisms, a single cell performs all basic functions. For example, in amoeba. And do you know what is amoeba? This is amoeba. Amoeba is an unicellular organism. This organism is composed of only a single cell, and a single cell carries out all activities in this organism like movement, intake of food, and gaseous exchange and excretion. But in multicellular organisms like human beings, like plants, there are millions of cells, and most of these cells are specialized to carry out different functions. Each specialized function is taken by a different group of cells. Since these cells carry out only a particular function, they do it very efficiently. For example, in human beings, muscle cells, they contract and relax to cause movement, and nerve cells, they carry messages. Blood flows to transport oxygen, food, hormones, and waste material, and so on. And what about plants? In plants, they are not so mobile, they are almost stationary, they do not move from one place to other. What types of functions take place in a plant? They grow, and some parts they give strength to the plant. So in plants, vascular tissues conduct food and water from one part of the plant to other part. So students, multicellular organisms show division of labor. Cells specializing in one function are often grouped together in the body. This means that a particular function is carried out by a cluster of cells at a definite place in the body. For example, if we talk about heart is composed of cardiac muscles. So heart has a specific function. It pumps the blood to the whole body. So heart is made up of a specific type of cells, a group of specific types of cells which perform a specific function. So tissue is a group of cells having similar structure and function. So in plants and animals, groups of cells called tissues, and they carry out specific functions. So what is the difference between plant and animal tissues? Plant tissues, you know that plants do not move from place to place, and most of the cells and tissues of plants provide mechanical support and strength. So most of the tissues of the plant consist of dead cells because they provide mechanical support and strength to the plant. And what is the other function of plants? They grow. So the growth of the plants take place only in some specific reason. Unlike animals they grow in uniform proportion, but plants, they have tissues called mesosomatic tissues which divide and help in growth, and permanent tissues which do not divide. And what about animals? Animals move from one place to other. They need more energy than plants. So most cells and tissues and animals are living cells. Growth of animals is more uniform, so animals do not have separate dividing and non-dividing cells unlike plants. Animals have organs having specialized functions, so the organs have specialized tissues. So let us start with plant tissue. In today's today's video, we will study only about plant tissues. So plant tissues are of two main types: meristematic tissues and permanent tissue on the basis of their function. Meristematic tissues are of three types. They are apical meristematic, introcalary meristematic, and lateral meristematic tissues. And permanent tissues are of two types. They are simple permanent tissues and complex permanent tissues. You have to note down all these things and you have to draw this flow chart in your notebook. So, simple permanent tissues are of three types: parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. And complex permanent tissues are of two types. They are xylem and phloem. So this flow chart is given here. Students, note down this, draw this flow chart in your notebook, and learn this. You have to learn names of all the tissues, of all the plant tissues. So let us start with meristematic tissues. Students, meristematic tissues are found in the growing regions of the plants, like the tips of the roots, stems and branches, and also roots. जब plants grow करते हैं तो उनके roots भी grow करती हैं, branches grow करते हैं, stem grow करती हैं. तो meristematic tissues are those tissues which are found in the growing regions of plants. They divide continuously and help in growth of the plant. They are of three types: apical meristematic tissues, lateral meristematic tissues, and intercalary meristematic tissues. Apical meristematic tissues are present in the tips of stems and roots, and they help in the growth of stems and roots. And intercalary meristematic tissue present at the base of the leaves and internodes, and they help in the growth of those parts. And lateral meristematic tissues are present in the sides of the stem and roots, and they help to increase the girth of the stem and the roots. उसकी चौड़ाई को बढ़ाने में help करते हैं. Now, what about permanent tissues? Permanent tissues are formed from meristematic tissues. They do not divide and have permanent shape and size. They differentiate into different types of permanent tissues. Permanent tissues are of two main types. They are simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissues. And simple permanent tissues are made up of one type of cells. What is the main difference between simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissues? Simple permanent tissues are made up of only one types of cells, and complex permanent tissues, they are made up of different types of cells. So they are of three types: parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. So parenchyma consists of loosely packed, thin-walled cells having more intercellular spaces. Some parenchyma cells in leaves contain chloroplast and prepare food for photosynthesis, as you earlier studied. And some parenchyma cells have large air cavities which help the plants to float on water. And some parenchyma cells of roots and stems store water and minerals. I'm going to post one more video, animated video, so that you can easily understand the function of all these types of tissues. Then next simple permanent tissue is collenchyma. It consists of elongated cells having less intercellular spaces and thicker at the corners. उनके walls तो thick नहीं होते, but corners पर they are thicker. They give flexibility and allows easily bending of different parts like stem, leaf, etc. You know that the plants are stationary, पर कभी कभी जब storm आता है या बहुत तेज़ हवा बहती है तो वो किस तरह से खड़े रहते हैं plants, वो किस तरह से खुद को बचा लेते हैं. They are due to their flexibility, and this flexibility is due to collenchyma tissues. So they also give mechanical support to the plants. And sclerenchyma. These tissues consist of long, narrow, dead, thick-walled cells. डेड सेल्स होती हैं, थिक वॉल्ड सेल्स होती हैं, और जितने भी टफ पार्ट्स होते हैं प्लांट्स के, दे आर मेड अप ऑफ sclerenchyma. The cell walls of sclerenchyma tissues contain lignin, Lignin is a chemical substance which acts like a cement and hardens them. It gives strength and hardness to the plant cells. जो आप coconut husk देखते हैं, that is made up of sclerenchyma tissue. Even the nuts, the shell of the fruits, they are made up of sclerenchyma tissues. So these are the diagrams of parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma tissues. You can draw these pictures in your notebook. देखिए parenchyma tissues, intercellular air spaces are very less. Okay, these are collenchyma tissues. The walls are thickened at the corner, and sclerenchyma tissues, they are made up of dead cells and their walls are very thick. Next are complex permanent tissues. So complex permanent tissues are made up of more than one types of cells. There are two types of complex tissues. They are the xylem and phloem. They are called vascular or conducting tissues, as you studied earlier classes. Xylem. All of you know what are xylem? Yes, xylems are those part of the plant, those tissues of the plant which help in transport of water and minerals from roots to all parts of the plant. So xylem consists of tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. You have to remember all these parts of xylem. Xylem consists of which types of cells? Tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fiber. The tracheids and vessels help to transport water and minerals from roots to the parts of the plant. And xylem parenchyma stores food and fibers helps in support. Next type of complex permanent tissue is phloem, and all of you know that phloem help in transport of food from leaves to different parts of the plant. So phloem consists of sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. Sieve tubes and companion cells transport food from leaves to all parts of the plant, and phloem parenchyma stores food and fibers help in support. Next is animal tissue, but before starting this part, let us see one more animated video to understand all these different types of plant tissues clearly.
We all know that plants are also living beings like us. They respire, prepare food, and have unlimited growth throughout life. So, how do they perform all these functions? Plants are composed of three major organ groups: roots, stems, and leaves. These organs are made up of various tissues that perform these functions. Large number of specialized cells together form a tissue. Plant tissues are characterized and classified according to their structure and function. The two basic types are the meristematic and permanent tissues. Let us first look at the meristematic tissue. It is the meristematic tissues that help in the growth of a plant, as they have the ability to divide themselves. Their cells are similar, generally small, enclosed within thin walls and a cubicle. Depending on the region they are present in, meristematic tissues are classified as apical, lateral, and intercalary. The tissue that helps increase the length of the stem and the root is the apical meristem. It is located at the tips of stems and roots. Which tissue then helps in increasing the diameter of the plant body? It is a lateral meristem, located at the lateral position of the stem or the root. How then do the leaves and the branches grow? It is the intercalary meristem that facilitates the growth of leaves and branches. In grass, these generate the parts removed by the grazing herbivores. A It is located at the base of the nodes, internodes, and on leaf bases. We now know how a plant develops its roots, stem, leaves, and branches. Now, let's find out which type of tissues help plants to obtain necessary nutrition and support. It is the permanent tissues that help in transport, preparation of food, and provide support for the plants. Permanent tissues are none other than meristematic tissues that mature and become differentiated to form different types of tissues. Based on the similarity of the cells, permanent tissues are classified into simple, permanent, and complex permanent tissues. Simple permanent tissue is called simple tissue because it is composed of similar types of cells that have a common origin and function. Based on the function, they are further classified into parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. The parenchyma tissues are oval-shaped cells with thin cell walls and have extensive spaces between the cells. They aid in photosynthesis, storage, and also help aquatic plants to float. They are composed of living cells found in roots, stems, leaves, and flowers. The collenchyma tissues are composed of living, elongated cells. They provide elasticity, mechanical support, and tensile strength to the plant body. They are found mainly in the cortex of stems and leaves. The sclerenchyma tissues are dead cells having extremely thick cell walls containing lignin. They protect the plants. This tissue is present in stems, leaves, and in the hard covering of seeds and nuts. We'll now move on to the second type of permanent tissue, the complex permanent tissues. As the name indicates, complex permanent tissues consist of more than one type of cell. They are classified into xylem and phloem. Xylem is a complex tissue consisting of tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem fibers. It transports water and minerals as raw materials from the roots to the other plant parts. Phloem consists of sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem fiber, and phloem parenchyma, which transports prepared food from leaves to the other parts of the plant. In conclusion, we have seen and understood the plant tissues, their types, subclassifications, and their functions. Things to remember: plant tissues are basically classified into meristematic and permanent tissues. Meristematic tissues divide throughout their life and promote plant growth. Permanent tissues are divided from meristematic tissues and facilitate transport, preparation of food, and provide support to plants.
So students, this was all about plant tissues. So also go through your NCERT